Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a big, huge welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. We always have at least a couple people who are joining us for the first time. So today we're going to get in and take a look at this was a conversation that I kind of had going on with a couple of you. And it was around getting past the lesson and into a reunion because it had to do with how much the relationship itself is related to the lessons that you have to learn, because one spurs the other, kind of, but how are they related, and what are the opportunities there? And so we're going to look into that a little bit to say, what would it take? What's it going to take to get past the lesson and really into a place where you're able to have a reunion, keeping in mind that, a reunion of a physical sense. So you're already there in that emotional and in that spiritual sense, but you don't necessarily have that physical energy in the same place. And a lot of times, a lot of cases, you guys are in separation. So we're going to look to see what it would take to create the reconciliation energy that would lead to the reunion energy, because we got to have that reconciliation internally and then together first. So it's going to be a general reading. It's going to be for the overall collective, and just like these are all general readings for the overall collective, so they're not going to be for everybody, not going to resonate with everybody for sure. But if it resonates with you, then by all means, please feel free to jump in and see what other messages there might be in there for you. See what other kinds of readings might be useful for you, and maybe even subscribe to the channel if it seems like the right sort of thing for you to do. So we're going to start out with the energetic backdrop as usual, the energy that is sticking out today, the energy with which we will, the context for the rest of the messages. And we have Judgment. Okay, there's one that I've been I did a shuffle this morning that was just looking at kind of energy for the day, and the Judgment card was one of the ones that came out. And so I don't know that I'm surprised at this. However, I feel like what it means in this case is almost like in one of my decks, and I'm trying to remember the name of the deck, but it's escaping me right now. The Judgment card consists of a person who's kind of floating over the scene, and they're looking at the overall situation, and they're making a judgment based on what they see there. That's the feeling of this. It's like looking over the entire scene and getting a feel for what you see there. But it feels like it's you and your person who are in this place of judgment. And so more of a place of judgment than usual. You have the Weaver of Boons and what is this? The Nine of Boons, both in the reverse. So looking at these in the upright, Nine of Boons and Weaver of Boons is like the Nine and Queen of Pentacles. It's that earth energy. The Queen of Pentacles is that earth mother energy that's that really nurturing, feels very solid in itself, very high levels of self-worth. The Nine of Boons is a very together sort of energy, having it all together, having that feeling of like organization in your emotions, but we've got both of these in the reverse. There's this feeling of not necessarily having that emotional organization, not necessarily having all that self-worth all tied up. So when you got this sense of judgment, it's not necessarily that these are creating a feeling of poor judgment or bad judgment or anything like that. More just that you're taking the bad with the good, which feels very balanced to me, very Five of Cups in reverse. If you watch this channel, you know I love to see the Five of Cups in reverse when it comes out that way, because it means that you're not just focusing on the things that have gone poorly. You're also focusing on what could go well, but you're really giving them both equal airtime, and being able to look at the big picture. So I feel like I feel like a little bit of this is happening here. You're able to see what's not going well with the Judgment card. Let's see what else comes out for this, because I would be curious I'd be curious to know if you're also seeing what is going well. So, all right, we've got emotional self-mastery, seeing where you are on that. And if you know, if you've noticed that we've seen the Eight of Boons or the Eight of Pentacles, Earth energy, come out a lot here recently, and in a lot of cases, it's been about your person saying, here, I'm being able to see the edges of where I've got development and where I don't. I can see what's wrong with me, you know. Here, it's about seeing what's right. And so that's that opportunity. This is judgment, but seeing that overall opportunity. Nine of Visions, Keeper of Boons. Okay, so this is wonderful energy. The Keeper of Boons is wonderful energy. It is like the King of Pentacles, and it's one that we've again seen a lot in the last couple of days, but it's this is the card of having your cake and eating it too. This is the it's that energy of the businessman, energy of the provider, and it's a very solid I trust myself sort of energy that is here, along with this Eight of Boons that's saying, here, I've made a lot of extra, or I've made a lot of good progress. The Nine of Visions, though, this is water energy, and this is about not knowing what you truly need, not knowing what you truly want. So it's got a little bit of that sense of, and I feel like this is more your person, that energy of midlife crisis, which really comes from the same place as that energy of an awakening. It's another thing that we've kind of talked about before. Essentially what it is coming upon a view of your life and realizing that something has given you perspective. In this case, it was the soul recognition between the two of you, but it's given you a little bit of the perspective to realize, hey, this isn't what I want anymore. Whatever I have in my life is not the full picture anymore. Sometimes it's just downright not what they want. In other cases, it needs a tweak. I definitely feel like there's that spectrum within this group, because both of those feel exactly right to me. And remember, this is a lot of people watching this, but that is still something that I would say for the majority of the group, is there's that feeling of not having truly figured out what wish fulfillment looks like. That's what this Nine of Visions would be in the upright. In the reverse, it's saying, listen, that quest is still ongoing. We've heard about it in so many readings. The quest is still ongoing. The quest that's associated with the Eight of Visions, or the Eight of Cups, or the Eight of Water energy. It's really showing us here that it's not solid. It's not resolved yet. That's okay. It's okay not to know exactly what you want just yet. It's really something that you should be working on, though, something you should be looking for. So we've got the Seven of Challenges. Challenges are air energy, like swords. And so this is the Seven of Challenges in reverse. It's the direction that I really like to see this. This is implied by the rest of the cards that are down here, honestly. There are so many things that are positive, so many things that are them looking at the truth and looking at the full picture with this Judgment overall here. That self-trust is implied because there's a sense of being able to trust what they see and feel within themselves. And with you, I feel that as well. So, you know, with this energetic backdrop, it is typically... this is shared energy, but it is typically going to be stronger on one side than the other. And yet, in this case, I would say that's just something that's mutual between the two of you. So let's see. We've got the Liar. Okay, so the Liar card, here, I'll turn it upright so that you can see it. This is like the Devil, but it's about something that controls you in a way that you aren't able to get out from under it. It's some sort of addiction, some sort of compulsion to overthink, some sort of thing that isn't working out well, but it's something that holds control over you. It could even be a person. Here with it in the reverse, though, somebody's feeling freed from that. Somebody is feeling like they are no longer under the thumb of something very specific that wants to own them, wants to control them. We do have the Hermit card, though, here. With the Hermit, there is this need, and we've seen this in the recent readings, to go and do some thinking behind the scenes and to just kind of get out there and look for some more truths, because that's part of what this judgment is causing you to realize, that this is such a mixed bag. It's always going to be a mixed bag, but this is a place where a little bit of thinking is going to go a long way. So, not so much getting up in your head about it in that Eight of Swords sort of way, but more just thinking about it and letting there be both logic and emotion that come together as you think about things. No rush to make decisions, just that here, let's get everything out on the table and really do some sound judgment here. And that's the energy that's within this, that we have today. So this is a nice turn that we've seen over the last couple of days. It went from something that felt a little bit more like panic and despair a couple days ago to yesterday feeling like, you know what, I can see the opportunity that's there. And now here I see, looking at it not in a hurry, but looking at it in with broader, a broader perspective. So that's a nice thing. Okay, so we're going to look now into what it is going to take to get past that lesson and into a reunion. And remember, this is the energy of working through reconciliation within your individual selves, which is about the lessons that you have to learn. Then there's reconciliation between the two of you. Now, there's no real rule about the timeline for that, okay? So it's not that you have to have all of the lessons learned and the reconciliations within yourself before you can have reconciliation together. However, there are certainly some lessons that you're going to be better off learning in separation. So for those things, yes, you've got to have some time apart so that you can actually learn these lessons the way that they need to be learned. What we see here, though, is a lack of stability and a lack of movement with you're not necessarily getting the universe pushing you forward in a particular direction. You're being made to feel something right now, and it is not particularly pretty based on the way that this feels. It's got this feeling of putting you in almost a deliberate, difficult situation so that you can feel the awkwardness of it. It's got that sort of sense to it. It's got that awkward sense to it, but it's like the universe is making you sit in that energy rather than allowing you to skate out of it. And it is something that you've both been learning to do, but you've been making more progress on that. That is that thing that we've been seeing in at least the last reading, maybe the last couple of readings, reminding us that one of the lessons has been about sitting in discomfort, being able to sit in a place where things are not necessarily super comfortable, but you're able to find some comfort in there. And I can't remember if it was in the main reading or in the extended where it came out, because yesterday and the day before both had like these epic extendeds. I don't know what happened. I can't promise anything for today. I never know what direction these things are going to go. But basically, I started with a question and then they just rolled down to and I ended up with like one question and all of this amazing depth that came out. And so I said something about it. I never like to say anything about it because I feel like, oh, that's the part people pay for, and it feels like it's weird to really act like I'm advertising it that way, because it's really there if you want it. And my goal is to get this message out. If you also want to finance the channel, then, and you want more of a message, then those are available for you. But you shouldn't need those in order to get the messages that you're here to get. It's just sometimes we jump in there and like all what breaks loose. And so anyway, the last couple days have kind of been very descriptive and deep that way. And again, I can't tell you what's going to happen today. I'm not even sure where the questioning is going to start in today's extended. Because right now, like I said, we're looking to see what it's going to take to get past this lesson and into a reunion. And right now it looks like sitting in an uncomfortable spot. Part of the reason that it's an uncomfortable spot is because you guys have gotten to a place where for some reason there is an inability for you to be partnered up and to allow energy to flow back and forth. Excuse me. There's also this need with the 5 of challenges here that we see in the reverse. This is about not picking battles that don't make sense. This is part of the energy that has to kind of happen for you. It's energy that has to happen for you, but it's not necessarily something that is a showstopper. However, this feeling of the two of you not being able to align and the allowing energy to flow, that's partially around communication, but it's partially around your energetic proximity. A lot of you are still working to figure out kind of what's happening with that energetic proximity, and there's a lot to learn here, a lot to get used to now that your energies are a lot closer. And when I say energetic proximity, that's what I mean, because all of a sudden, here at the end of April during that Mercury retrograde, a lot of people, their people got a lot closer energetically. Some reached out and some, were able to be in communication for a little while. Most kind of went back away, but almost all of them stayed very close energetically. And so you guys have a new set of rules to work by. Because, like I said, some of these things really have to be learned in separation, but when your energies are that close, it's challenging to do that. However, there is a sense that there's a little bit with the Six of Challenges. This is like the Six of Swords. There's a little bit of that sense that things have actually calmed down energetically a little bit for you to be able to see, I don't know about the light at the end of the tunnel, but certainly understand the direction that you want to go. But you have the Wise Woman here, which is a reminder that you're going to need to remember. The question is what it's going to take to get past this lesson and into a reunion. Sorry about all the throat clearing. I feel like something bloomed today. But with the Wise Woman, this is that admonition to remain as close as possible to your own intuition and to your own self, your own higher self. With the Seven of Boons here, this is like the Seven of Pentacles, but it's in reverse. These are investments. These are opportunities that you build for yourself, but you have to do the work to build it for yourself. There is definitely some question on your part, and maybe even on your person's part, about whether that foundation has already been built. And so there's a need to at least look into that. But I feel like with that Judgment, that's one of the pieces that you'll be looking at. There's been this concept that's come up a couple times here in personal readings recently, and it came up in one of our YouTube readings, but it was about an apology being needed on both sides, and I had somebody contact me and say, after the first time when it came up in a YouTube reading, I had somebody contact me to say, so I was a little bit offended by this, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized, there probably is an apology needed on both sides. And I hadn't had the perspective to really see it that way before, and it was a surprise to this person. Not that it's an uncomfortable realization to say, what, I probably did something that wasn't tip top here, whether you realize it or not. And that's where you go back to the forgiveness piece of those mantras. If you haven't seen the mantras that are in the bonus videos, and I know not very many of you probably have yet, go check them out if you've been wondering about the mantras that I use for my meditation. It's just a bonus video. It's not super long, but one of them is really about forgiveness and about acceptance of a person as the way that they are, and kind of gets into the energy of being able to right wrongs, or at the very least accept the position where you are. So with the Wide World card, this is like the world in the traditional tarot, and it is the sense of, it's that sense of coming to the end of a cycle. There is a cycle that you two are working through, and it is made of multiple smaller cycles. And in some cases, it's like what we've been talking about with the last couple of days, where you are going around like a track, or going around a skating rink, and you have the option to go out of the door, but you're kind of going through the cycle over and over. You have to be prepared to figure out what you're going to do when your skates hit that different when it hits that different floor outside the door. But you're getting to a place where you're going to be getting off that ride. You're going to be getting out of that rink. You're going to be going through that door and ending a cycle. So there is going to be a need here to think that through to a certain degree, but it's difficult to do that this early on because you need more information about where you're going to land. You got to look at whether or not you've got that investment. You've got to look at whether or not you're fighting the right battles, like we were seeing in here. You've got the Wise Woman that talks about whether or not you're able to remain connected with your higher self. And then, of course, things like the Four of Challenges. So, the Four of Challenges, this is your healing, this is your rest and rejuvenation that you need. You need this. But in some cases, it's really hard to talk yourself into that. And the same thing comes for your person. Some of them are just drowning in work and really have just dived into work, and it's very intentional. The Child of Spells here talks a little bit about that exciting energy that allows you to move into something that really sets your souls on fire. Both of you have the option to move into something like that because you're still working on, and this will help you to solidify. But what do you do when you run across an opportunity that presents something super awesome for you? This is basically what you'll be exercising, is an opportunity that makes you feel awesome, that gives you something that you did not have before, sets your soul on fire, may not be something that you would be looking at. It's just, it could be anything. It could be, starting a business, writing a book, starting to learn an instrument. And I've heard so many awesome things. Some of them are career oriented, some of them are just hobbies, passions. But understanding what to do when you run across that, that's part of the lesson for both of you. And part of the way you learn that lesson is to observe something, see it as an opportunity, and jump on it. And so that is something that has to happen in order for the two of you to get past the lessons and into a place of reunion. Picking up a card that has just fallen here, we have the Five of Spells, but we have it in reverse. So sometimes that means staying away from struggle, and that's not really what it means in this case. In this case, it's the Five of Spells. It's that fire energy, but it's like the Five of Wands in reverse, but it's taking all of that energy of all of the what's coming from all of these different directions and aligning it into a single direction. And that is really the key to success here. And I feel like we're done with that. All right, so I feel like there's more, though, that I want to ask about what it's going to take you to get to this place, because we're seeing some of the lessons and some of the things that we've seen in the past that are very important. So basically learning to be comfortable in a situation that is not especially comfortable, facing the realities of whether you have truly invested or whether there's more to invest, managing your energy, making sure that you're staying close to your higher self, allowing yourself to truly heal. There's a lot that happens here, not jumping into the wrong battles, but what else? What else will it take to get past this lesson and into a real reunion? Because I also feel like there's an element of letting go of structure in here. I feel like it's implied here with the Four of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune, both in reverse. But I want us to get a little bit more deeply into that and also understand, maybe we'll break it up and see what it's going to take for you and what it's going to take for your person, because it feels like you're on such different, not necessarily different paths, but different places on the path. So before we do that, though, we're going to look at what your focus is, the way that I typically like to do. So these are really well connected. Your focus and what has to happen to get past this are going to be incredibly similar, but the focus is more near term. So you're thinking about this painful ending, this ending that has happened between the two of you, and that's really what it's about. But I want to ask why this Ten of Swords is here. What about this painful ending? Because we've seen in some of the recent readings that you've got to relive some of this pain, but this time you do it with a little bit of a buffer, so it's not quite as challenging and difficult and painful as it would be ordinarily, than it was the first time, because of the lessons that you've already started to learn. So you've got the Ten of Boons in the reverse here, and the Ten of Boons talks about the perfect household. In the reverse, it's basically seeing everything that isn't what you want it to be and being able to say, all right, I'm on this path to figure out my 9 of visions. Figure out what it is that would truly constitute my wish fulfillment. I recognize I'm not there yet, but I'm starting to be able to recognize what in my life is not what I want. The Child of Challenges. Okay, so the Child of Challenges is like the Page of Swords. Okay, this is a willing, this person has a youthful perspective, and so you don't have to be youthful, but in order for you to exemplify this energy, you just kind of have to be able to channel the energy of a young person who doesn't understand the impact of things going wrong and is willing to just sort of jump into something without implications or without understanding the implications. There's a lot of value in that. And even if you are a person with more experience who's able to say, okay, but I understand those implications and I won't be able to unsee it, it's still generating that energy and figuring out how to operate in it. That's something that you're going to want to do right now. Even if it is something as simple, although I won't say easy, as generating the energy of being able to just be spontaneous. So we have the oldest one here. This is about guidance, learning how to seek guidance, learning how to appreciate guidance when you find it. And when you hear somebody who's got a lot to offer, not being in too much of a hurry, bringing the temperance with you to be able to listen for long enough to receive some additional guidance and really get what you need out of that. So if you feel like there's a good message somewhere, really internalizing it. Then we have the sunlight card. So the sunlight card in the reverse, this is about seeing the opportunities that may have been missed and acknowledging them. So we saw that as part of this message here. Something has happened that has created a bit of an issue. You're going to have to look in and see if you have truly invested the way that you think you have invested or the way you want to have invested. And it's okay if you haven't, but just being able to recognize that maybe things are different from that. We also have the Black Shuck card, which is like the death card in the traditional tarot. Something's at an end. Something is changing. It's got to die in order for something new to take its place. And this is not about the relationship or the energy between you and your person. This is more about values. There's going to be a situation of values here. So we've talked about this with your person over and over, but now it's you. There's a situation of values where you're going to recognize that something in you is different from what you thought it was. Something that you were is different from what you were maybe raised with. Oh, thought we had another one there. Interesting. So the messages for you are getting not urgent, but more and more honed, more and more, okay, here's what you need to do. So the Two of Challenges, which is like, this is the decision that you're sitting in front of and it keeps coming up for you. It's come up for you multiple times recently here. It's that decision. It's like the Two of Swords. So we keep seeing that. There's a crossroads. There's a decision. You have a choice to make, and it's whether you're going to get out of that rink and stop going around and around, or if you aren't done yet, you might need to go around that rink a couple more times. There's no wrong answer on this one. You've got the Child of Boons. This is around the lesson that you're learning, and you've got the Folly, which is around the tower that has been so difficult for you to allow to fall. So both you and your person have become a little resistant to the towers around you that need to fall because honestly, they're scary, they constitute change, and they're just sometimes really difficult to deal with. So we've got the Keeper of Challenges. You are encouraged, and the Keeper of Visions. Awesome. You are encouraged to really sit back and look at the situation, take a moment, and don't be in a rush. Just stand back, look at the big picture, and decide what sort of situation you want to employ. That's where you're using your mind in this hermit experience over here. Here's where you're using your heart. This is the Keeper of the Visions. This is allowing you to make good decisions with the heart. Decisions with the heart and decision with the brain both of them are going to be lacking in some way. Now, when you pull them together in this hermit situation, you're going to be in a better position to make a more balanced decision that really comes from a more balanced place, both the head and the heart. So that's where we're going to leave it here. We are going to go into the extended to look a little bit more to see like what it's going to take to get past this lesson and into a reunion for both you and your person. So that means I'll grab another deck and each one of you will have your own deck. And then I'll look at what it's going to take we'll kind of look at the bridge energy between the two of you as well. So that's what we'll do in the extended reading. If you'd like to do that, the link is down below. We'll see what ends up happening. At least at this point, we can say it's not going to be one big epic question because we're definitely asking the same question for you and your person. If I run out of space for cards, then I run out of space for cards. We'll see what happens. But I look forward to seeing you there or in the next reading.